All of you, welcome back to yet another interview question. So this question is pretty straightforward for the DeFi auditor, which deal with the staking platform where they have to build different reward system for the client when they will stake their token. So we have to perform some sort of mathematical calculation. So this question is related to that. Here we have to handle the division method when we are doing and performing that transaction. So here we have the entire question. Like it says, in Solidity, the SafeMath library provide function to perform arithmetical operation securely in the smart contract. So this is nothing new. You guys have already followed a couple of videos previously in that we have talked about this library and SafeMath. It said that in that library we have one of the function called division. So we have seen subtraction, we have seen addition, we have seen multiplication, and in that we are dealing with the division method. So we'll say that design a safe math division unsigned integer, explain the significance of the using function in the safe math. The overall this question says that you have to write a smart contract, two smart contract. First contract where you have to explain that how you can use this safe math library, especially the division function, to perform mathematical calculation and prevent some kind of non allow transaction. You have to build another contract where you have to show that what exactly problem will occur when you will not apply this particular division library as a safe math. So when you want to solve this particular question, you have to keep three things in mind: preventing division with zero, consistent with safe math principle, because there is a standard which you have to follow if you want to execute your smart contract properly, securely on EVM chain. Then we have the secure contract development. So these are the few things which you have to keep in mind. Now let's write the smart contract and let's perform all the transaction which they want us to do in the contract. So here I have taken this license identifier and Solidity version. This is the library function which I have written. I call this SafeMath. This is what they have told us to write. And here I have these two function, division and division. One is internal function and this one is the external function which we going to call into our contract. So we are taking this two integer variable and that's what we are passing into our internal function. If it's fulfilled the condition which we have highlighted here, it's going to simply return an integer. Otherwise, it's going to throw this particular error message. And in this particular internal function, what we are doing that we are taking this two integer and the error, which is a string type. We have call integer pure return and it's going to return a uint variable. In this, the very first thing we are doing is we are checking for a condition that we don't want to division with the zero address. So that's why we are checking that b is should be greater than 0. If it's not, then we have to throw the error message. Then if it's the case, then we have to simply perform the division and at the end we have to return the C, and that's what we are returning from here, and that's what we're going to get finally into our contract. So this is our library contract we have. Hope so far things are clear. Now let's write the contract. This is the simple contract in that we are simply calling the library. We are taking this uint and in that we are simply calling the library and passing this to uint variable. So let's simply deploy the contract. If I come back here, this is the only contract I have. I click on this deploy. The transaction went through. Let me click on OK. Let me drag it up. So the transaction went through. This is the contract I have. And all I have to do is to simply pass the two variable, which is divisible. So the first thing I can do is let's pass the actual valid data for performing that. So I'll pass this 10 and I'll go with something like an odd number. If I call this, I'll get this 3. And the reason why we got this 3 because we are not considering the decimal number. We return as a whole number. If I put this to let's something like 9, I'll get the exact number 9. If I change this to let's say 2, and if I change this to let's say 10, call this particular function, I'll get the 5. So it's working fine. But if I try to do the division with the 0, it's going to throw the error message. So if I call this, the transaction failed, and here you can able to find that our error message got triggered division by 0, and that's what you can see. So with this particular library, what we have done that we have prevent the user to perform the transaction and change the state variable as a 0 address when there is a funds involved. Okay, for example, that when you are building a staking platform, there you don't want the user to drain all the fund from the contract. You want them to store at least some amount of fund on their address in the contract. So in that case, we should use this kind of logic to prevent for getting the balance to be a 0. Okay, we should always have some fun, but it should be never 0. So that's how we can prevent that. I hope you guys have understood. Now let me show you that what will happen if you don't apply this particular library and don't use this division properly with the SafeMath library. So this is the contract I have written. What I'm doing here, I'm taking this two uint variable 42 and 0, and it's going to perform this multiplication, and then it's going to result pass down the final result, and here it's going to set the balance to the 0. So I'm going to simply remove this one and I'm going to deploy this particular contract, And this is not allowed. When you will work around the DeFi contract, it should be not allowed, because you should never allow the balance to be null or zero, something like that. If I click on this, I'll get an error. The transaction failed. So I hope you guys can understand that what exactly happening here and how you can use it. And when you will ask this kind of question in your interview, you have to know how to respond, how you can build the SafeMath library, what they mean by this particular library, and what are the functions out there. So we have cover addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. I hope all of these topics are clear to all of you guys. So this library will help you a lot when you will work on a DeFi contract. Will build some sort of a staking reward system like NFT drop or token drop. So this logic will help you, and you will use this library very frequently for performing the mathematical calculations. And if you go to any blockchain and if you look at the contract, you will find they have used this exact library and performing the exact mathematical calculation. It's totally up to you. Like, this is the basics thing I have explained as per the question they have asked, but it can be more complex. You can restrict certain number, certain variables, certain outputs. You can restrict, so you can simply build more complex. So I hope you guys have got an idea that what exactly it is and how you can simply answer this question. Again, I'm going to upload this solution and the question to the website, the blockchain coder, in the interview section. So make sure to find the link in the description, click there, and you will find all the playlist around this interview questions. So you can simply download the starter file and you can do the experiment and have a look at the questions that what they have asked. So that's the only thing from my end. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.